Hello everyone, my name is Roma, easy to remember, like capital of Italy. So this is the first video in my YouTube channel, therefore I think it would be best if I would introduce myself first. I have been working in corporates and institutions for almost 20 years. 10 years of those I have been taking senior leadership positions like first vice president in a bank or chief operation officer in an asset management firm. A couple of years ago I have started my coaching journey in order to help others grow. And this is what I am currently doing full-time, helping others to achieve more in their leadership journey. My biggest part of clients actually are women in leadership and business. And I have just started this YouTube channel as an additional tool where I could share very practical things that you could implement in your leadership journey or personal life to be better tomorrow. So the very first video that I am currently recording is on the topic of motivation versus discipline. Which one to trust? Let's start with the basic definitions. What is motivation and what is definition in my understanding? Motivation, I think, is only the emotional state where you feel at the moment empowered to do something that you really want, or at least you think you do. So as an example, 1st of January, I want to start going to a gym. And I think that's such a cliche. Everyone knows that many people make this New Year resolution and then in the first quarter they abandon the gym because they trust on motivation. This leads me to spoiler alert saying that you cannot trust motivation. It's only emotion and it comes and goes. If you want to achieve something more, something consistent, something big, you should rather go with a discipline. Discipline is a decision. It's not an emotion. It's not temporary unless you make it to. That is a decision, a planned, structured thing that you choose to do consistently on a regular basis. You like it or not, you want it or not. Just because you made that decision, you keep to that disciplined actions that you make. That leads you to the result that you want. And let me share some examples from my personal experience. I will not surprise anyone telling that I have made many decisions based on motivations. Sometimes I see some nice story online and I am inspired and I want that the same way. Let's say I see a nice family who educates their kids in a nice manner. I want it that way. So from now on, I will do something from what I saw in that video. It usually stays for a week and then I see that it doesn't fit my kids. I don't like it. I cannot keep on doing that, and then I let it go because it was based on motivation only. Another example is what I see sometimes in my clients' stories is that they start something based on only motivation. For example, learn new language. They enroll into the language courses. They start going there and then suddenly after a while they see that they make so much effort and somehow the other person in the class gets better results. That is really demotivating. Slowly they start to abandon the classes and eventually stop taking that language course in the first place. I also saw a lot of examples of decisions made on motivation in my leadership journey. Usually that is more often after the year-end reviews when leaders or other employees, they get feedback on they did good, what they did not that good last year, and then together with their leader they make plans for upcoming year. And based on that, especially if they were praised, they make a decision to start doing something more often, like tell their opinion more often in the meeting or provide more feedback or whatever else. And usually if that's only the motivation that decision was based on, that ends after some time, usually quite soon, after several weeks, months. What I suggest better is discipline. Discipline, as I mentioned before, is a decision that you make, but not only that, that is also some plan that you make, some tips and tricks that you have in your drawer, what to do when you feel stuck, what to do when you feel unmotivated, what to do when you feel under the weather, and so on. How to make it happen, how to make that discipline help you to achieve the result that you want at the end of the day. And here, actually, let me share some other examples from my personal experience. I think most, if not all, of the success stories that I witnessed in my life, would it be my personal personal stories or the stories of my clients or colleagues were based on disciplined actions. I know many people who are now living a healthier life, looking better, etc. And what they do is something they decided consciously and they use discipline to achieve for going to the gym on a regular basis, change their diet, have some tips and tricks what to do when they get off the path and etc. In leadership as well, I think I'd like to share one of the things that I have used as a leader. For me, people part was very, very important, and I had made a promise to myself that in order to make people happy, to let them grow, to make them want to develop themselves, I have to be a big part of it as a leader. And therefore, I had several pillars what I would do with those team members of mine to help them grow and to be part of their success story. And some of those things were regular one-to-one meetings. Some of them were particular projects that I would assign them to do and then follow up. Quarterly performance reviews, so that don't only talk once a year about their performance in general, and so on and so forth. And in order to not forget about that, I put that in my calendar and always did those meetings on time. This is the basic difference between motivation and discipline, and I'm a big fan of a discipline. I think if you use motivation, that might work on a short term, and if that's only short-term solutions that are not that important and that don't require a lot of time to actually achieve, you can live with that. But if you want to actually achieve something more in your life, something that requires a lot of time and is a long-term project, you should rely on the discipline. Now, I mentioned a couple of times that you have to have some tips and tricks in your pocket for the moments when it's difficult. And I think here I would like to divide my advice for you into two pieces. One of them is how to make that plan in general not that intimidating. And the other thing is some small tips and tricks what to do on the particular day. Those are tactical solutions to keep you moving. So first of all, let's call that big project that you want to have, that big result that you want to achieve, an elephant. If someone tells that you have to eat an elephant, it's really intimidating. It's big. Maybe you're not that hungry at the moment in general, right? So what to do, how to eat that elephant, how to achieve that result that you want and keep disciplined in it. So I think the answer that is very, very necessary here and very, very beneficial here is a plan. The first thing that helps to eat that elephant or achieve that big result that you're aiming for is to divide that elephant in small bites. If your end result is that you want to, for example, save 100,000 euros to buy an apartment, let's divide that. Let's divide that huge plan, huge goal into small goals. Let's say you want to save 1,000 a month. Another example would be you want to lose 40 kilos. Let's divide that you want to lose 10 kilos a year or something like that. So whatever your plan is, it's dividable. You can divide it into small pieces. The last example that I actually had from my experience with one of the clients, she had a huge workload of the tasks that she postponed to do, and the deadline for her was to finish them all until end of month, which was 20 days away. So she came to me and she said, Roma, help me, I have to do it all. It's impossible. It is something that I delayed for 6 months, and now all those things has to be done in 20 upcoming days. So the first step that we did was to divide that huge workload into 20 small pieces, because that's the amount of days that she had left until the deadline. So she then knew what is the piece exactly that she has to do in a day to do everything until the deadline. So the first step is to divide the elephant into the small pieces. This step 2 is to plan those pieces into the calendar. So if you know how much exactly you have to do in one day, this is the task. Assign that task to your calendar, assign it to your whatever else tool you are using, and make it happen. Plan it to happen. Make specific dedicated time in your day when you will have it, when you will do it. Make your surroundings the way that they help you do it, or they help you allocate that amount of time for doing what you have to do. If that is saving money, again, divide it in particular amount of time. If you have to save something in a month, how much is it that you have to save then per day, per week, and so on. So divide and then plan ahead so that it's really tangible, something that you can measure. Make those goals smart. The third thing that is really important when eating an elephant or following the discipline to achieve your big goal is to reward yourself. So whatever you have planned to do in a day, week, month, or a year has to also have a reward. And that doesn't have to be something big. Something different works for all of us, right? For some that can be a warm bath. For others that can be a small trip by a bike. For others that can be go shopping. Something that is not toxic and helps you grow and relax, really helps to stick to a plan, stick to the discipline, and do not give up in the middle of the journey. Last but not least, as I promised, is tips and tricks. What to do when today you know what you have to do based on your plan to keep on a discipline, but you don't feel like it. Maybe you feel a little bit under the weather. Maybe you are just lazy today or not in the mood, not motivated, and so on. What really helps, at least for me, is I call it 5 minutes rule. So if you have planned to do something for an hour, then change it. Agree with yourself that you would only do that 5 minutes, and then if you want, you can stop doing it. 99% of the time, after 5 minutes of doing something that you have planned, you would continue, because then suddenly motivation kicks in. And then you continue, because it's really nice, especially that feeling when you do something that you have planned and you did not really like that day. It's really rewarding. You are proud of yourself. Another thing that really helps me is to merge two things into one, like make a couple from two things. One of them is something that you have to do because it's a discipline, it's a plan that you have made, and another thing that is just simply pleasurable. As an example, I have a discipline of doing sports 5 times per week. 2 of them I go to the gym, working with weights, and then 3 of other times I work on my elliptical trainer in the garage. I have to admit, I do that for 6 months already. I didn't miss a day. But I had so many days when I didn't want to do that. What helped me is that I merged and coupled doing the elliptical training with watching the TV series that I like, and it's only me time there. I turn it on and then I do the elliptical training for an hour, and I don't even notice how the time flies, because what I really am concentrated to is the TV series. And when I go to the gym, I have my headsets and I listen to the audiobook that I like. So it's really doing 2 things at once, which I'm not a huge fan of in general, but when it comes to doing sports, it really works, because you don't have to pay much attention to what you do as an exercise. You are getting used to that already, so it's kind of an automatic thing. And then watching TV series or listen to the audiobook really helps to make it more enjoyable. Third thing that actually helps me is then to let some flexibility in it. So as an example of that gym thing that I mentioned, or doing sports in general, I have promised and a plan with myself that I will do that 5 times a week. Sometimes if I really feel bad that day and I don't want to do sports, I don't want to dedicate that 1 hour per day to do something that I planned, then I think, okay, if I don't do it today and today is Tuesday, then instead of having a day off on Saturday or Sunday, I will have to pay it back for the Tuesday. Is it okay? And if the answer is yes, I can do that. And I don't really overuse it, because I don't really know what Saturday or Sunday will bring it to me. So I think 50% of the time I then decide, okay, I want my weekend off, so let's go to do sports today. But sometimes I really feel that bad that I decide that, okay, I will have my workout on Saturday. That's cool. So those, I think, are the main tips and tricks that I do use, and I hope that it's valuable for you. So that makes it a video. I hope that you found it really valuable, and if you did, please press like and subscribe. That means a lot to me. And if you want to hear more of videos like that with tips and tricks, with practical insights from my personal experience in leadership, you can also comment in the comment section below. Thank you, and see you next time.